Good morning, everybody. How you doing? Happy Sunday. All right, we're going to do this again, and I'm going to ask you guys kindly in the chat there, please don't feed the squirrels today. We got yelled at. Our boss was like, what the hell was that? What was last week? You know, y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. And I said, it's the chat's fault. It's purely the fault of the chat. So I blamed you guys, and you guys are taking the brunt of Senor Fancy Pants' wrath and anger. So anyway, again, welcome to the Impractical Blacksmiths Sunday morning. Words are escaping me today. So I saw a squirrel. Welcome to our show. Anyway, here it comes. So I was watching these reviews on the Super Bowl. Never mind. So
it's not Super Serial this weekend.
No, but it is the Daytona 500.
Your car races suck.
Okay.
Now that's going to cause arguments.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you've ever watched the Daytona 500, you might understand it.
Here we go.
I work in gaming. I have watched your slot car racing. They're making a left turn. Yes, we're already chasing squirrels. It is the first thing.
How dare you insult an icon of Americana like that?
I'm not American. I can do it.
I dare you to say a bad word about our Lord and Savior Dale Earnhardt.
Who?
Raise hell, praise Dale.
Who is bad enough?
Anyway, I'm more of a Biffle guy with the Sharpie car. But anyway, so
let's get into it.
we're gonna do our normal show. So it's gonna be the how was your week, followed by topic, chat, and then final thoughts. So let's move on to it. Adam, how was your week?
My week has been dead, in the sense of it. So last fortnight when I spoke to you guys, it had been raining. It has been raining since then. It only stopped Friday afternoon. So my block is finally starting to dry. I no longer have an inch of water over my entire block. It's now just, if I walk outside too far away from the house, I start to sink into the ground. So it's getting better. I haven't been able to do it. I haven't even been able to mow my lawns. They're about a foot high at the moment because it's just been so wet. So I have been doing nothing but working on my book and wasting time. Oh, so I have done another thing. I made another batch of mead, and I am currently making spirits, but that's kind of illegal in Australia. So I made mead, and so did my first racking of that today, and had a friend's birthday over on Friday night. So that's basically it. That's my entire week. Reached out to a few people with some projects from the book to get them to do them, or request that they try them, so that I can get some feedback on on how the instruction part of the practical aspects of the book are. And hopefully that gets, they get round to that in the next couple of weeks or a couple of months. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do, and some of them, at least the two of the people I've reached out, are fairly well-known names in our community. And so hopefully you'll see them do something with those projects coming up in the future. No pressure to them, of course. It's just for fun, for funsies, and just so I can get feedback on how the structuring of my instructions in this book goes, so that I know if I can tweak them or make them better, and make them more useful for people out there actually doing the work. So yeah, but that's pretty much it. Nice and simple, keeping it using the KISS principle, keep it simple, stupid. For me, but yeah, that's about it. How about you, Sally? How was your week?
My week wasn't too bad. Got a little bit of work in. Got a little bit of work done in the forge. I did finish up. I didn't bring it in. Dang it! I did finish up a hammer this week. That cross peen that I was making for my January monthly blacksmith challenge thing, and so I needed a small cross peen, so I made a small cross beam. I just now finished it a month too late, but yeah, I'm gonna get that one all cleaned up today and handled, I think. But other than that, I mean, I didn't really do very much. Just a couple days of work, and then came home yesterday, which is odd. Usually, I come home on Thursday because I take Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday because I've got therapy on Fridays. Well, this week things are a little bit different, and I took off Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I've got so I'll be Saturday through Tuesday here, and then Wednesday morning I head back to Midland, and I've got a appointment for a laser hair removal consultation type thing going on. So that'll be fun. And that's my week in a nutshell. Didn't do hardly anything, and I survived another 7 days. So yay! How about you, Yamet? How was your week?
Oh, busy. Like, busy. So work's picked up, and we had a nice, fun job down in Rodanthe, which is about a 2-hour drive from here. And it was like, get on it and do everything we could to get it done in one day because we really didn't want to make that drive 2 days in a row. But we didn't know what we were going to get into when we got there. Like the job description, it was one of our contractors called us, one of our good customers called us and said, "Hey, I need if you guys can go down to Rodanthe, I got a couple of outlets to move." It's like, okay, but he didn't know exactly what, so we got down there, and the guy that was on site there was like, "Okay, we got this, and it's like. And they're like, okay, so if you can get us an estimate for this, I'm like, no, we're down here to do this today. So he's like, oh, okay, good, because nobody wants to go down there to work because it's a 2-hour drive. And the tradespeople down there, the electricians down there, like, if the sun's out, they're not on the job site, they're out on the water. They're fishing, or surfing, and so yeah, like. It was just ram, slam, and get everything done. Moving, basically remodeling 3 bathrooms and bang, 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 and remodeling a master bedroom, and it was just sore. 4th floor in a building too, so up and down them stairs all day. It was like get everything up in one shot and then stay up there. Outside of that. I know y'all don't really like hearing about my crypto stuff, but it's been a week of working on that, and all culminating. We have the project is launching today, or launching a token today, and my messages have just been flying off the freaking. My phone's been just pinging. I turned it off right now. But I got right after this. I've got to hop on a call with my developer and finalize some bits of some tweaks to the contract, the smart contract, and then set it up to do our launch later this evening. And I got people. When launch? When are you guys going to do it? Blah blah blah. It's like, chill, homie. It's like it'll happen. And like I said, I got that.
So on the exciting news, there's a couple of things that I forgot. So this week I actually had to get a new phone because my other one was starting to glitch out, and I also had cracked the screen. So when I'm able to get back out to my workshop, hopefully the quality of my my lives are a little bit better. And the second, for those of you that weren't there, after Roy's wonderful giveaway live stream for the mystery tool the other week, he announced his 2,000 subscriber, 2,000 video release, and it is so cool. So it's going to drop directly after we finish up here this morning or this evening, depending on where you are in the world. And I encourage you to go watch it, go like it, go share it to everywhere that blacksmiths are available. Not gonna spoil it. Not going to spoil it. Not going to give away any of the details for it, but it is going to upset a lot of people. And I look forward to it. It's what I live for. Also, now I don't always, but I often watch back previous episodes of this, particularly my work week ones where I can't actually stay and chat. And last week, of course, I wasn't there at all. It's because my lunch break, which is usually in line with when we go live, it was a little bit later. And that was because of the super serial. So because that was getting ramped up and being on, when they moved my break, so I wasn't able to actually be there for people in Australia for some reason tend to bet up to the match, and it was getting really busy. So I wasn't able to be there, but I watched it back. And I just wanted to make a note on last week's episode.
No.
Yes. Yes. No,
Okay.
it's not discouraging.
I told you guys he was going to yell at us.
No, I'm not. I see for those of you that disagree with me, I'm really not fussed. But there are a lot of blacksmithing podcasts out there. Excuse me. There are a lot of blacksmithing podcasts out there. Some that, like our good friends over at the Forgecast, are dedicated to providing you with the best information regarding blacksmithing and knife making and all that type of thing. And of course, then there's the gentleman up in Canada, and they do a wonderful job talking about blacksmithing and interviewing blacksmiths and all that type of thing. We're the Impractical Blacksmiths. One of the things I love about this show and the reason why I listen to it back and all that type of thing is, sure, we talk about blacksmithing and talk about things surrounding blacksmithing and a bit of history and science and all that type of thing. But the way I see it is we have the conversations that you'd have whilst you're working at the forge. So, if you're sticking us on while you're listening out there, it's kind of like talkback radio. You can join in and have a chat. And pop a message into the chat if you're listening and you think something a little bit more requires your input. But on the other hand, you can just listen to us and argue with the radio. That's the way I see it. We're a conversation. We get sidetracked, or we waffle on, just like you would when you're working with your mates in the workshop. So that's the way I see it. We are a blacksmithing podcast, but we're also a community-focused and community chat podcast. So that's why we encourage you to send us emails and or leave a message in the Discord, or pop us a line to say, "Oi, can you cover this?" or whatnot, because we're about you guys. We're a chat. So sure, I do keep these two these two in line when it comes to staying on topic most of the times. But on the same note, I'm just as bad for chasing squirrels or chasing wallabies here in Australia anyway, or possums. So I just wanted to say that. And when we actually get into the solid fuels, there's a couple of points that were made. Some of the things I looked up, and a couple of points that are made that I'm gonna go into a little bit deeper because it's my area of knowledge. For example, charcoal.
So while we're talking on solid, what solid forge fuels did the aliens use while they were building the pyramids?
People. They use people.
All right. That's not the actual topic today. What?
I've decided just to lean into you with your alien conspiracies. There you go.
That's
Just lean into it.
the
And like
best
we brought
way.
up last week, the practicality of using people as a forge fuel.
That's it. I know. That's why I said people.
Oh,
So yeah,
good.
let's go to the chat. So let's say hello to the people that are actually here because we haven't done yet. So
Yeah.
g'day, Mr. Pecker. We got Ben Toombs, Eric. How you going? Stephen Parson. Thanks for joining us. Deranged, Eric. Trail Dust, of course. Jeff Killian, Rob Huff, SNS Smithing. Who else? Jack
Thomas
Hines,
Goodamoot.
thanks for joining us. Yeah, Thomas Goodamoot, he's here, and so is the Indomitable Roy. George Anderson.
Abominable.
Deranged, of course.
Yeah.
Who else? Have we got anyone else that have joined us since we started up?
Call him
SNS
Mr.
Smithing.
Freeze.
That's it. Who else? Anyone else? Boar, thanks for joining us. That's pretty much it from what I can see here. The regular crew.
And of course, hello to all the lurkers out there.
That's it. Whilst you're there, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you're not already. And of course, I'll say the same thing at the end of the podcast. But now we've done the hellos and introductions and all that type of thing. Let's talk about the.
I hear you rustling your papers.
Well, I'm not starting. You guys start.
Okay, so today's topic is forge fuels. Like we've already hammered in the thing. We've tried to talk about this last week, and we actually did brush a little bit on it last week. Over the course of last year, we talked the different eras and everything, and when they discovered coal, and they primarily used charcoal. And as Alexis pointed out last week, going over the different BTUs and how it's, what was it? Charcoal. Oh, I don't remember the numbers. And how am I supposed to?
Charcoal was like 5,500, I think it was. Corn was like 8,000, and coal, bituminous coal, was 12,500 BTU.
Right. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, thereabouts. Yeah.
So yeah, we learned that. So
those are what do you call it?
Rough.
Averages, of a sample size. So
yeah. So we learned that while people may have started out with charcoal, and that was the most well-known forge fuel, those who did use corn were actually getting a little bit more on the side of more efficiency over charcoal. And then once they discovered coal and started burning rocks, who would have picked up a rock and thought this would make a great thing to light a fire with? Who'd have thunk it, But once we started that, holy cow, the industry was built on coal, and I love it. Which brings us to modern times, full modern times, not modern man's been around for 300,000 years, blah, 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 but us as hobbyist blacksmiths and professional blacksmiths in an era where blacksmithing isn't 100% needed, but that quality of work is enjoyed and loved, we have now, pet coke, coke that you can buy straight up without having to go through the process of, what was it, a bit bituminous, then goes to breeze, coal to breeze to coke, the process of coking your own
cooking your own coke.
Yeah, cooking your own coke. And then you step on it with baking soda, not baking powder, if I recall. No, but trying to stop the squirrels.
Pablo, right quick.
Yeah, but yeah, so it's like when talking about this, especially from a new smith standpoint, oftentimes, like we talked about before, you don't really know where to get this stuff. We, as people who have been doing it for quite some time now, like, we know where we can source coal. We know the best prices that we have access to. Those of us who have the means and ability typically would either get all of our coal in one spot for the year, and either go up to Quad State and buy it in bulk there, or head to Pennsylvania or one of the main coal areas and grab, buy it by the ton and then transport it back. It's cheaper that way. You can get like 2,000 plus pounds for like $250. Those of us who may not know that or may not have those contacts or access to that. Like when I first started, I was buying my coal off of eBay at $50 a bag, like $1 a pound. Holy
Yep.
crap, that was a nightmare.
I did that. The first coal I bought off eBay for $1. I bought a 25-pound box for $25 plus shipping. And yeah, so no, wait, no,
Right?
it was in a flat rate, the large flat rate box. So yeah,
Right? Yeah, so we tend to try and look for cheaper alternatives while we don't have those contacts, and most smiths will fall back on the good old traditional charcoal. Some people will buy it, some people will make it. I know when I first started, I didn't even bother with charcoal. I literally just, scraps of wood I just threw into the forge. I'd clean up my yard, have a pile of sticks and branches there, and I'd chunk up a few and throw them in there, light it, and add my air source, and I'd forge as the wood burns, so to speak.
as the wood burns.
As the wood burns, yeah. I tried doing a small charcoal retort just to try it, and I didn't have the patience. So, if I had a lot of forging to do, what I would do is I'd go grab, a couple of cheapo lump charcoal, from the dollar store. And that worked all right. I dealt with a whole lot of arm burns because when you use the charcoal, it crackles like crazy. 18 viewers and 1 like. WTF y'all doing? Winky face.
I
right?
have a note about that. So when it comes to charcoal, and this is something that, of course, I'm a charcoal smith. I'm not I don't use coal. I don't use charcoal. I don't use coal. I don't use coke. Charcoal is what I use because it's what I have access to. But don't have access to coke or coal, either bituminous or anthracitic here. So charcoal is what I use. Now, with that, the charcoal that you buy from big box hardware stores or whatnot is undercooked. Okay, so it still has a moisture content. Blacksmithing charcoal and charcoal for cooking are 2 different grades. And they have to be because with charcoal for cooking, of course, you're generally using it for smoking. It's for that clean cooking. It doesn't get to as high temperatures, so it doesn't need to have all the moisture and all the impurities cooked out of it. Blacksmithing charcoal, on the other hand, is cooked for a little bit longer at a little bit of higher temperature in order to reduce it to that pure carbon. So if you're using properly cooked charcoal for forging to the right temperatures, it even has a different consistency. So if you grab your general dollar store or your general big box hardware charcoal, you generally can't snap it very easily, right? And when you hit it together, it has a clunking sound. Good blacksmithing charcoal is very glass-like. It snaps crisply and has a glass-like or metallic tinkle when you drop it together. That's properly cooked blacksmith charcoal. Now, with that, you won't get the fire fleas that come off when you're using regular charcoal. those fire fleas are caused by the impurities and the moisture content that's still retained within within the charcoal. Now, that's not to say that you don't use charcoal like you would coke or coal. You still drizzle it with water and all that type of thing, but the impurities contained in the charcoal from undercooking, which is used for the barbecuing charcoal and whatnot. That's what causes the micro explosions that creates fire fleas. You still do get some fire fleas and stuff like that when you're using charcoal that is properly cooked, but it's nowhere near as many and nowhere near as bad. So that's a note for future, which is why I absolutely encourage, if you have the ability to make your own charcoal. It's easy to do. You can use it from, it doesn't matter if it's scrap pallets, offcuts from your offcuts from trees and stuff like that. Cook it yourself, and you can experiment to get the right consistency for the charcoal. But again, with charcoal that you buy from big box stores and hardware stores, they undercook it for a reason. It's sold by weight, so that little bit extra moisture that they contain in it increases the weight, which of course means they can charge more. Also, it comes down to the volume of the whatever they're cooking in, because when you make charcoal, it reduces the volume. You're getting rid of a lot of the weight in it, the moisture and the impurities. So you lose on average about from about 30 to 50% of the volume just in the impurities. But also, even when you make it yourself, not everything cooks up the same way or to the same extent. So you do have undercooked stuff left over in when you're making charcoal. So with that, when these companies make their charcoal, they're trying to get the most charcoal for the least amount of time in the cooking ovens, while still getting that consistent result. So it's all those factors mixed in. So you're not going. So again, going back to it, store-bought charcoal isn't going to be as good as charcoal you make yourself when it comes to forging, and also it's going to have more fire fleas. I do encourage you, if you're going to use charcoal, make your own. It is better in the long run.
Now,
so yeah, that was my point on that.
I'd like to add as well. Now, this is the first time that I've heard of blacksmithing specific charcoal outside of somebody making it themselves. So with that being said, again, I reiterate, if you've never forged, if you have never blacksmithed and you would like to, okay, while, like Adam said, some of the stuff is, more efficient than others, some fuels are more efficient than other fuels. The same goes with any tools. The same goes with any, like your anvil. It's like, but if you've never done it before and would like to try your hand at it, run to the store, grab yourself a bag of lump charcoal. Even though it's not smithing charcoal, that doesn't mean it will not work. It's just not as efficient. I'll tell you from experience, it gets the steel hot. It gets the steel into that plasticine state. And, simply digging a hole in the ground and blowing some air at it with a vacuum on reverse or a hair dryer, it's a side blast forge. And, a nice big, sledgehammer head, and whatever, a ball peen that you have on your workbench, pair of channel locks will get you started, to get you that basic information, because we all know the best way to learn is doing, and knowing what questions to ask comes from trying your hand at it. So, like, okay, when this is this, like you learn what questions to ask, because how do I blacksmith is such a general question, like yeah. you ask a blacksmith, how do I do this? And you'll get 1,000 different answers from, 10 different smiths, because there's no one way to start other than just start, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, and once you have that starting point, and then you can dig more into it and ask, better questions. You find yourself in that situation where you can switch to coal. Well, then you find you're in coal now, and you have, different types of coal, different sizes of coal, different, and all of those are good for different applications. You have anthracite, you have bituminous, you have lump coal, you have nut size coal, pea
Lignite.
size coal, lignite coal. I've never had lignite coal unless it's slipped in some of my bituminous on accident. But I'll tell you, I mean, some people like anthracite because it's clean burning. I personally like that billowing cloud of the fresh coal, fresh bituminous going up. Which actually, funny thing is, early while Adam was going on, Roy shared a story about the first time. What was it? Let me roll up to it. It was funny. He goes, funny story when Thomas and I got the fuzz called on us for making meth. He told the cops that he didn't have any of that around, but we do have a ton of coke. Now, when like if from an outsider's perspective, when you're burning, coal, and when you first started, it's this thick plume of just this nasty looking smoke. And like, if you've ever seen Breaking Bad, like that plume of smoke coming out when they're cooking the meth, I can see how somebody would be like, hey, there's something going on over there. Weird chemical smells, it's like, so I could totally see that happening, I love it though.
Yeah. Now, to further on what we were talking about, last week it was raised, and of course at the start of this stream, raised up using corn as a fuel. Now, I've done a little bit of preliminary searching, and corn actually makes a really, really good forge fuel if it's accessible and cheap enough for you. Now, of course, it's feed corn, not cracked, whole feed corn, but in that note, from my preliminary research, it's basically used as that halfway point, literally halfway point, just like it is with the BTUs, the banana thermal units, between charcoal and coal. And then that's green coal. So you use it very similar. Apparently, it does clump together and form up just as well as coal. Of course, you do need to use it like green coal in the sense you start the fire, you let it carburize around that central fire before you start using it. So it does, in that first lighting the fire and whatnot, it does take a little bit of time to carburize and to get ready. But then basically you can use it like at that cross between charcoal and coal, and it can quite easily get up to forge welding temperatures. It can do just about everything that coal and charcoal can do. On that same note, though, whilst when it comes to the volume that you use with charcoal, you're going to use more simply because it's pure carbon, no impurities, but it's light. It isn't. Whereas bituminous and anthracitic coal are denser fuel. So by that I mean, if you have a fist-sized coal and a fist-sized charcoal, the amount of fuel in even just the amount of carbon in that fist-sized lump of coal is going to be more. The fist-sized lump of charcoal is going to be lighter, so that you're going to burn through those two same sized pieces of fuel at different rates because this one has less mass. Whereas the coal will have more mass, and of course that comes for every scoop of coal you might use, and this is the general rule of thumb, for every scoop of coal you might use 3 scoops of charcoal. When it comes to corn, then you're going to be using for every scoop of coal you might use 1.5 to 2 scoops of corn. So it is more energy efficient and energy dense than charcoal. It is less accessible than charcoal to a lot of people, but it may be more accessible to you for a cheaper price than coal or coke.
And it works. You
It
know,
does
like
work. It is a
it legit
fantastic fuel from what I've
works.
researched. Yeah.
So it's like it's not it's one of those when you first hear about it you're like what? But I mean it works. I mean is it Hectic Blacksmith or Heretic Blacksmith out in Ghana? He uses palm kernels, which is essentially the same thing, just a bit bigger chunks. And you know, it's like he's building his business using that. He doesn't use coal. And it's like it works. It's not like some off the cuff like, oh, it works because it burns. No, it works because it's also it's a fuel that people use. Why don't you end up with a shop full of popcorn? And that's because it with popcorn you're heating it basically evenly from the inside. You know, you're heating it up and you're not breaking the shell of the corn. So the heat builds up in it, and then pops. With burning it with direct fire, you know, you're scarring and charring the outside. So, you know, microscopic air gaps to let that steam escape.
Yeah, that's as I say. The difference between because you can forge with popcorn and it doesn't pop, and the reason being is when you're heating up popcorn, what you're doing is you're taking the moisture inside the corn and turning it to steam until the point where it's inside the kernel and it's under pressure until the outside of that kernel can no longer hold the pressure, and when it breaks, that steam escaping instantly cooks all of that starch just like that into the popcorn bit. When you're burning corn, you're starting from the outside in instead of going from the inside out. You're going from the outside in, and so the shell burns off first, and the steam, the moisture inside the corn never has that opportunity to build up pressure inside the kernel. So that's why
and
it doesn't pop.
And
Yeah,
Thomas
and
brought up
also
the point in the chat. Thomas brought up in the point in the chat. Popcorn is different than field corn.
Yes.
And Royals.
Popcorn is much smaller, and I've burned popcorn and I've burned Indian corn and field corn and you know, different types of corn, and feed corn does tend to burn a little bit better because it's more starch and less sugar. The high sugar corns don't burn as well.
Now, as Roy said, proper forging fuel isn't about overall BTUs. It's about consuming oxygen, free oxygen in a fire, providing an oxygen-neutral environment, and that is 100% true as well. And going on more about popcorn, it's the reason why there's two ways of cooking popcorn. There's the oil way, which of course you're heating up the oil and then dropping the popcorn onto the oil, which of course the oil being hotter than what water can get to, flash steams the water, which causes a pop. And of course, if the other way where you've got the sealed environment around the like a pressure cooker and whatnot, in which case you're constantly moving that popcorn so it doesn't burn. So it doesn't have the chance to burn and scorch, in which case the steam can escape from the popcorn. So, again, it all comes down to that steam and that instant pressure release of the steam that causes it pop. Whereas when you're burning, it doesn't do that. It does create microfractures and stuff like that allows the steam to escape. So, again, that's why you don't get popcorn when you're forging. That's just my take. What we've been talking about is my take on two of the fuels that I can personally talk about when it comes to forging. I can talk about solid fuel. I can talk about charcoal, and I can relay that onto corn. I don't have experience with coal or coke. I look forward to being able to use that when I come over the US because I'll be able to use it. I can't use it here. You can't get access to it in the places where I go to forge either way. Here in the Northern Territory of Australia, I don't have access to it. I go over to Western Australia to see Sam. He doesn't really have access to coal either. So he uses gas primarily, but he does have a forge that he uses charcoal in, or did have a forge that he uses charcoal in occasionally. So yeah. But to further on to go to Roy, of course, Roy is our resident expert when it comes to forging. This is why anthracite is not great to forge with. It doesn't have the molecular surface area to provide sufficient oxygen reduction. It gets hotter than bituminous coal, but it is terrible to weld with. And that's right, and that is a take that goes back through history. The best coal to use is low sulfur, low phosphorus bituminous coal.
Yeah, and you got to give it to Roy. He really took to his lessons well. I taught him everything he knows.
Yep. They're still trying to... Okay, so for those that aren't in the know, and Roy posited something in a stream where I'm trying to convince Roy to come on a regular here on the Impractical Blacksmiths, to become a regular contributor and to have his own. I want to give him his own segment.
Okay, so so here we go.
Responds.
We had our intro. We talked about our topic. We've got 19 minutes until he drops his video, and yeah, we can cut our final thoughts down to just a few minutes. If Roy would like to hop in and kind of tease you guys what's going to happen in 19 minutes, it is entirely up to him. And we would, you would be lost without me. It's like, as Adam alluded to, you had mentioned that you were thinking about a Roy Rant style podcast, or something like that. And it's like, you know what? I have no problem teaming up with you. You've been a part of all of our forging adventures for the past multitude of years, and you get us. So like you are ipso facto like one of the Impractical Blacksmiths, So you are always more than welcome to hop on the show, and then we could give you the audio from it, and you can do with it what you want.
And
Alexis is like, come on.
Come on, guys. Roy is too good for us. Don't.
I know, but like, you know what?
Oh man, now I have to do this crap.
If you shoot for the moon and miss, you still land among the stars.
That's right.
You always punch up.
With what Roy does on his channel, from the coin Makumagame to destroying anvils and all that type of thing, Roy is an Impractical Blacksmith. Let's face it.
Like,
right?
Yeah. So
it's true.
Yeah.
If you can't deny it, Roy.
It's an open invitation to become, I could rearrange the screen here to give a fourth screen. I could shrink me and, get it figured out and yeah. So there's that.
Let me be like a Brady Bunch.
Right?
Here's the story.
Uh-oh. Here we go. We're going to get yelled at by Papa Roy.
Yay!
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Let me turn you up a smidge.
All
right. Let me adjust.
Well, he's got video as well.
Man, my hair is not ready for my close-up. Dead hair.
Duplicate.
It's Roy Old Naturel.
I will get
just the
this,
way we like you, Roy.
Okay. And
Roy needs to turn his camera sideways or his phone sideways.
That work?
That's it. That's better.
Boom.
Now we got Roy in high definition.
Probably a little too high depth.
That's all right. So, tease us. What's coming out in 15 minutes there, Roy?
Okay, so it's something cold. It's something
cool.
that's a myth. Oh, yeah, it's cold, it's a myth, and it's an object we all love, we all know and love.
Yetis?
How's that for 3 hints? See if anybody in the chat gets it.
I think half the people in the chat were in your live stream there, Roy. So
yeah,
most of them probably knows.
Well,
But for those that weren't, you know, yeah. What do you hope to achieve with your 2000th video?
Yeah, so the premise of the 2000th video is basically kind of knocking down a myth that persists every winter here in the United States, and probably all the way around the globe, is that you need to take and preheat your anvil before you get forging for the day. And because the anvil itself will draw out a significant amount of your forging heat before you're capable of actually working with the material. And so, doing things the way that I do, being a bit impractical, as you would say, doing things the way that I do, I'm like, all right, how can I settle this once and for all? How can I make a really clean video that anyone can just drop like a mic drop, in that type of conversation when it comes up, and you got people, blasting blow torches at the side of their anvils and turning them blue. Um, how can we stop the insanity? Well, that's what came up with this video idea and this concept to take and do it. Yeah, so it's kind of a wild ride. Didn't think it was going to happen at first, and yeah, but it kind of all come together in the end. So it's been quite a fun project. There's going to be like 8 different videos in this series, I guess, doing various different things around particularly this kind of myth situation. So yeah, it ought to be a wild ride.
Mm. When you told the story of that Smith hitting his anvil with a blowtorch and it going blue, that hurt. Like my heart was like, oh no, like
Yeah.
you're destroying the temper. Like I had a visceral reaction to that story.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
This must have been before I got in there.
Yeah, I apologize for missing the stream.
It was a person in a blacksmithing group, and it was a person in a blacksmithing group, and the question was, how long should I let this anvil heat up before I get forging? And he had an old Peterite anvil that he had the surface all sanded up nice and smooth on it, and he had blue and purple heat rings coming from basically a good solid 2 inches of his anvil's edge, far edge, as he's blasting a weed burner at it, right? And so he had blued his anvil in the process of trying to preheat his anvil before he started forging for the day. So he ruined a historical anvil to preheat, just so this way, he wouldn't lose any heat when he went to smithing his knives or whatever it was he was doing. So
knife blanks that he
Don't do
bought.
that.
Yeah.
For anyone listening in future, regardless of what your stance is, don't do that. It ruins the temper in your anvil. It will ruin your anvil. And for those of you that seen Monsters Inc., when the little girl goes through the crushing machine and it's like the big monster go, that's how I feel. Oh my golly.
Yeah. Yeah. It was cringeworthy because, there was equal comments, there was some of the older guys that were like, what in God's name were you doing there, fella? And then there was, Roy Uncut. So, yeah, so there was people were like, hey, what in the world are you doing? Preheating, like, that's nonsense, And then there was other people like, oh, well, I wouldn't heat it that much. I'd back it off before it start turning colors. And it's just like, it's like, no, it's a complete and utter nonsense. So, and for those that, again, it's going to spark a lot of debate and controversy. We'll see how it is. There are some well-meaning smiths. There's some people that've been at it for a long time, and in specific blacksmithing organizations and groups over here in the U.S. that yeah, they probably won't like me very much after this video. So
They don't. You know what, Roy? Though they don't like you already. I know who you're talking about. They don't like you already. You know it. I know it. Now there are. I have. Okay. That goes right into the 7 life rules to live by, and it's like everybody knows them. Most people follow them. Let me find it to make sure that I'm reading the right ones and not the other 7 rules to live by. But yeah,
there's more than 7 rules.
Yeah, according to Big, 8 rules, but you know, hey.
All right, so 7 rules of life. Number 1, let it go. Never ruin a good day by thinking about a bad yesterday. Number 2, be yourself. What others think of you is none of your business. 3, give it time. Time heals everything. Number 4, don't compare. You have no idea what their journey is all about. 5, stop thinking too much. The answers come to you when you least expect it. 6, it's on you. No one is in charge of your own happiness except you. 7, smile. You don't own all the problems in the world. But we're going to focus on number 2, be yourself. Who gives a crap what other people think? You know, it's like, especially if you're in the right. You know.
Yeah.
You could tell those specific people, hey, you know, 700,000 people can't be wrong.
So Roy,
you never know.
I posit an idea because you're, you know, in 8 minutes time, less than 8 minutes time, your video goes live, right? Next week,
viral.
I would love for you to come back on. I won't be here, of course, but I'll be listening and watching in Touchwood. I would love you to come back on and do a Roy response to some of the comments. Because I want to, like, I'll be reading the comments, but I want to see your reaction to some of the comments that's definitely gonna come from this, right? But
yeah,
having been in your stream and we three, some of you are as well. We're in the know of what's going on here. There is one reaction that could happen, and that's about the life of an anvil, you know, that isn't preheated. But I can see that comment coming up, right? But also knowing some of the future projects that you've got going on, I already know it's a load of BS. Right?
No, I maintain my stance. What you need to do, okay, is you need to take and block out. You need to get 3 anvils that are identical. Okay, for science, 3 identical anvils, and you need to put an equal amount of work on these anvils over the next 30 years. One of them you preheat every time, one of them you don't, and one of them you keep at room temperature. Okay, or cool down. Okay. And do the exact same amount of work on each of those 3 anvils over the course of 30 years. And then you need to use a micrometer and check the wear on each anvil to see which process lengthens. Because when you were talking anvils, we're talking like geological timeline. We're talking the life of an anvil is hundreds and hundreds of years old. You can't say, oh yeah, this, you know, like this has no effect on it. You know, well, what if not preheating your anvil length or decreases the life of that anvil by 50%? How would you know unless you did a 30-year science experiment to find out?
I think I'd come up with some sort of forging, like power hammer forging apparatus that, you know, strikes the surface like every few seconds, and cryogenically freeze one. You know, keep one at room temperature, a stable 70 degrees, you know.
And then one at
have another
preheated.
one with a blowtorch blasting on it, you know.
Yep.
And do that.
Well, maintaining
future videos.
Maintaining 100 degrees.
All I need is like $1 per subscriber a month, and I'll just keep that going indefinitely.
Yeah.
Hey! That could be your 5,000th video. You know, like.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Put it out as 5,000.
We'll just have a 24/7 live stream going with those 3 anvils just under automated power hammers. You know, just 24/7. You can just tune in and watch the action in the shop.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it would also be what's that called? ASMR. You know, for blacksmiths that they can't quite get out. You know, just turn that on, have it in the background. You hear the ding, 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 and it'd be like
There you go.
music.
There you go.
You'd have to tune the timing so that it's one hit, one hit. Boom, 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 boom.
I could also subliminally every 20-second frame, I could put in subscribe. Subscribe.
Now, guys.
I think there's laws on that, so I can't do that. So,
guys and girls, we only have 4 minutes left. So whilst I would love to keep it going, we do have to get off the air so people can go over to Roy's channel and watch this live drop. So whilst we're here, let's get on to final thoughts. Let's start with Roy because, of course, he's the guest, and then we'll move on to Sully. Okay. I'll do mine, and I'll get while I'm pulling up the outro. Go ahead.
Okay, right on. Well, first off, like I said, I'd love to come back on. Next week if you guys will have me. I do do a little review situation of what happened, right? That the aftermath. If you would like to have me on that, I would love to do that. And then I'd also like to tell the audience, trust but verify. All information. Trust but verify. So, if someone tells you, charcoal is the best and everything else is, just terrible to use, well, test it for yourself. Trust, maybe they know something, maybe they know a thing or two, but verify what they know, because it's not just an old gray wizened man. Not all gray old wizened men know everything. So, sometimes they just got started too, but maybe an hour ago.
I'd like to point out that they don't need to go to your channel to watch it. I can put it on right here. Live stream the drop of your video.
Well, thank you, Yamas.
Stay tuned here. Don't go to his channel. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Stay tuned here. Watch it in person. I don't know how YouTube would feel about that, but
they'd get me.
You can always give it a go.
Copyright strike.
Yeah, probably big time. Yeah, but thank you all for the love and support, and I hope you guys enjoy the video.
I think they will. It's real cool.
Y'all have a great week. Bounce on over to as soon as you hit that notification. Click on it and go watch Roy's video because it's pretty cool. I mean, I gotta say, I'm excited to watch it again. I was watching it bouncing down the road the other night, and so I didn't really get too much into it. So y'all have a great week. See you next weekend, and take it away next.
Okay, so thank you for joining us. You can find Yamas on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram at Island Metal Forge. You can find Alexis at Transcendental Artist Studios on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. You can find me, Adam, at Speargrass Forge on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. If you have any suggestions for Tool of the Week, Metal of the Week, or any other topic, you can leave under the hashtag Metal of the Week in the YouTube on Discord, or you can email us at impracticalblacksmiths@gmail.com. If you found us on Spotify, Amazon, or Google Podcasts, we upload generally every Wednesday, hopefully when we call up, or you can join us live every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and that's currently 12:30 a.m. Australian Central Standard Time, but check that against your local time at the Island Metal Forge YouTube channel. Finally, thanks for joining us. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and if you're listening on a podcast, don't forget to give us a star rating. We do appreciate your support. My final thoughts is can't wait for this to drop. I'm going to get off so Yamas can give his final thoughts and we can finish so we can go and watch the live drop. Yeah.
And yes, so just as usual, thank you all. This channel wouldn't be what it is without you guys. I love this community, and big hearts to all of you guys. Let's just end it and go watch Roy. We got 30 seconds. Come on. I mean, this is going to be a big one. Come on. So, ending. Bye.